What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. Let's fix this fucking camera angle, make that shit square. So something that I was discussing recently with a friend of mine, and I've actually had people ask me before how I felt about not turning pro. And, I usually kind of like, what do you mean? I know what they mean, but I want to hear them ask me in their own words, you know what I mean? And they usually say something to the fact of like, well, you spent 20 years chasing, that dream and you failed. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, I get where they're coming from, because I think most people think that if they spent 20 years doing something and they failed, that it would be like groundbreaking or detrimental to their health or something like that. But I kind of put it in a little bit different perspective. Like, yes, of course I'm upset. Of course it sucks. Of course I failed. I mean, plain and simple, I failed to become a pro bodybuilder, which was all I was striving for. Striving for, anyways. Which was all I wanted to be from the age 15 to about 35, 36 years old. Literally, that's all I wanted in my whole life. That's what I wanted to be. And I look back now, and it basically consumed my entire life for that period of time. But I think a lot of people go, well, you have to put a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. I didn't want to put that much time and effort into becoming pro. Okay? Matter of fact, I didn't even know I could put that much time or that much effort into anything in my life, no matter what it was. I had no idea that I was capable of what I did for that span of time. I had to do what was required for me to progress. And that's just what it wound up being. I think people look at it and go, well, Jerry from the age of 15 was nonstop breathing, bodybuilding, only doing bodybuilding all the way until he was 37 or 38, whatever year I decided to stop competing. And that whole situation through that whole time was that intensity. It was the same way. And that's not really how that works. Like, when you're starting out, you have a good grace period where you're learning and you're trying new things and you're failing over and over again. So just by nature of this sport, failure happens immediately. And if you walk away then you're not involved in the sport. Like, to become a competitive bodybuilder, you have to go through failures just to get to the stage. You have to go through failures just to gain that pound of muscle. You have to go through failures just to be able to bench press 100 pounds. Like, you're going to fail so many times before you bench press 300 pounds. You're going to fail so many times before you get down to 10% body fat. You're going to fail so many times in between that failure becomes not the failure that most people think it is. Not the failure that most people let consume them. It becomes a teacher. Failure becomes a teacher to you of what not to do next time. So now when you step up to the plate to do the next show, you know certain things to avoid because they backfired before. And look, this thing, I failed because of this. I was retaining water. I failed to place in this competition because I did XYZ. So this time I'm not going to do XYZ. Therefore, I learned from that failure. It was a lesson. Failure becomes a very good teacher. Everything becomes a lesson when you fail. And I'd say most bodybuilders have failed more than they have succeeded. I'd say 99% of the time, if you ask a bodybuilder, they're going to be like, yeah, man, I probably failed 80% of the time and succeeded 20%. If you literally are out there like, I'm going to put on 10 pounds of muscle in the next 2 months, right? That may seem like a short-term goal, but let's say you only put on 8. You failed. Like, you still put on 8 solid pounds of muscle in 2 months, but it wasn't the 10, so you failed. That's a failure to a bodybuilder. If you say, I'm going to step on stage and place top 5 in the show, you get up there and you're 7th. You failed. Some people are like, let's say you get 6th. People are like, you missed it by a point. Right. The guy was only 1 point better than me, which could have been, he had 1 sip of water less than I did that day, but it's not 5th place, it's not top 5, it's a failure. So bodybuilding becomes a cluster of failures after failures after failures of all different types, small ones, big ones, ones you didn't expect that would ever happen, right? Because let's look at another failure. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you're doing this so hardcore that you're losing that relationship, and that relationship ends because of that sport, you've now failed that relationship during that contest prep. That is a failure for your contest prep because you don't want to be divorced during your contest prep. Your goal is to stay married to your friggin' wife until you're done with the prep. If you're not, you have failed part of that contest prep. That was part of the goal of the contest prep. Like, there's so many little failures that people, I don't think they look at or understand the type of strength that it takes for a person to go through that over and over again. I think bodybuilders are extremely strong. I think they have a lot of heart. And I think that as far as willpower, I think they can will themselves to do things that a lot of people just couldn't do. And they do it over and over and over again, not just for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, entire lifetimes. They're willing themselves to do something that most other people wouldn't be able to do for 10 years. But they keep doing it. That takes a very special type of person. And in the end, you're going to have people that, have succeeded in what they wanted to do right away. Phil Heath is a good example of that. He literally came in and was like, boom, 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 right up to the Olympia, just like a fucking rocket, right? You have other guys like my friend Rich Siegelman, who it took him 20 years to turn pro. You know what I mean? He was like fucking banging away, when, built himself from a lightweight up to a middleweight, decided that coming down a weight, he failed at the middleweight, failed at the lightweight, decided to come down to bantamweight, finally turned pro, right? But he failed so many times going up to that. So you kind of, I all around me is this failure, then one win, and then failure, and then one win, and then failure, and it's like you have these fucking wheelbarrows full of failures, and then like a pen, like one pen for a win. Like that's it. Wheelbarrows compared to one. And this one is the one that matters the most. Those failures don't matter to the person who gets this one, right? So yes, it sucks I didn't accomplish the goal. Yes, that bothers me. Yes, it pisses me off. Yes, I'm upset that I can't go back and strive to do that again because my body just can't handle it. And I don't want to take the drugs to do it, right? So turning pro is not an option. But part of turning pro and what I wanted to turn pro for was to do this, was to be able to have a reach that I can put out my ideas, put out help for people, help people train. Everything. It was to build that reach, right? It was to be able to make a living off doing what you love, right? But I'm doing that. It's like I jumped over the pro part and went directly to where I wanted to be. It was almost like I had a fast track over it and landed where I wanted to be on the other side of it without taking that step. And when I realized that, I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck was going on? And then it dawned on me, and actually my wife Erin is actually the one that told me. And she said, she believes in karma, she believes in the universe, she believes in you do good things, you get good things back, and you do bad things, you get bad things back. And she blatantly put it was a blessing you didn't turn pro. Like the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, did you a favor. They gave you exactly what you wanted without putting you in that dangerous place of being a pro bodybuilder. And I was like, dangerous place? She goes, yeah. She goes, you were on heroin before? She goes, really, realistically, what the fuck haven't you done or what wouldn't you do? She goes, so that when let's say you did turn pro, right? To be able to turn pro, you have to push the drugs to begin with. And your blood pressure was high. You were unhealthy to begin with. Your eyes were yellow. You're pushing the drugs just to try to turn pro. Then if you turn pro, you're going to push it. Well, now I'm pro. I got to I'm the next level. This is what I always wanted. I'm so close to my goal of having that career that I wanted from turning pro. Because you can't make any money winning contest winnings. So there you are, already ill, already pushed things to the max, and then you're going to push it to the max again. You're never going to make it to have that life that you wanted. Like the universe literally said, you're not going to make it, so we're going to give it to you by not allowing this. But we don't know that. We look at it as the failure, as the negative, as the thing that we didn't do, the step that we didn't take. But look where you are, exactly where you want it to be. So who fucking cares about that? That's a deeper level of thinking that you have to get to that I don't think a lot of people, I'm not saying a lot of people, but many people can't get to. They see what's on the surface. And only when you get to the point you are now, where I'm at now, living the life I want now, can you look back and connect the dots. Because up to that point, nothing makes any sense. Like hindsight is 20/20. That saying means hindsight, meaning you can look back and always have completely clear vision as to what the hell's going on. That's exactly what happens when you get there. So, yeah, there's that part of me who is that teenager that still is pissed off that he didn't turn pro because he wanted the IFBB, polo shirt. This is IFBB Pro on it. In the pro card, to carry in my wallet. And be able to tell people I'm an IFBB Pro, right? Which most of the people in my life that are outside the fitness industry, which, people that, they work out and stuff, they don't, IFBB Pro means nothing to them. So without having that stuff, where am I now? Exactly where I would have ended up, or I wanted to end up, and that's where I'm at. So now I'm no longer mad like that teenager part of me, right? I'm grateful that somebody or something or whatever it is watching out for me up there that said, you know what, we're going to give you what you want because you're killing yourself for it. You're proving that you want it. You're willing to die for it. So here it is, but stay around a little longer. And I'm like, then I'm like, me and my wife get into these philosophical discussions, and I'm like, why do you think I'm here? And she's like, you're doing exactly what you're doing. Like, it's no surprise that all these things fell into place, and all of a sudden YouTube took off and social media and stuff like that, and you became a voice that really was different than everyone else's out there to give a different opinion, a different perspective. but to help, to legitimately help, and not for asking anything, and not ask for anything in return. Like 2,500 videos on here, I've covered every single topic, every single subject that you could ever want in your entire life. And on my website, I put up the stuff about the performance enhancing stuff because it won't go up on YouTube. There's everything you ever wanted to know on my website, BioStateTraining.com, in the member section. There's everything you guys ever wanted to know in there. And that could have never happened if I had turned pro. Well, it would have been, maybe possibly could have happened, but wouldn't have happened when it did here and now, where I was healthy, if I had turned pro. It literally was happening in that time that I would have been turned pro, to where I had this availability to, I just dumped all that energy into YouTube and stuff like that. So I look at it as a favor the universe did for me, a gift that it gave me, a positive thing, right? Turn a negative into a positive. The negative was I didn't win my pro card. It upset me. I was pissed off. The positive is my life is exactly how it would have been if I did, if not better. Turning the negative to the positive. So hopefully you guys, this is a long video. If you're still with me, thank you. But hopefully you guys understand that sometimes we don't get exactly what we want, but there's usually a reason for it later on. And if you look back, it's probably better that you didn't get it, because for some reason, someone up there is watching out for you. BioStateTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BioStateTraining.com is a blog. It's the somebody's watching out for you up there, bicep, and we are out.